Hi, friends. This is episode 4 of Exciting Tables and Words about human personality. I don't have a song for it. There's lots of things I could have done better than this. But, sometimes SE is the thing. You just do the shit, do the work, put it up there, premiere them all one day after the next. So anyway, this page starting on page 25. Slot placement, essence, work, reward, and ping frequency. The category of the function in a given slot matters. A dominant action function expresses differently than does a dominant judging function. At the same time, a dominant slot must be defined independently of the function that fills it, or the whole idea of cognitive functions breaks down. Can we understand functions in isolation? The base function and the tool function are distinct components of cognition, but always work as a pair. They supervene upon one another. This means we can't meaningfully conceive of either existing except as expressed through the tool function. Also, we can distinguish between individual functions because when in the dominant slot, each has one of only two possible tool functions. Those two options each express differently, and we can derive distinctions between the individual functions accordingly. Okay, so there's a reason why, if you have extroverted intuition, for example, it's always going to be paired with TI or FI. It has to do with the amount of deliberation necessary to balance out against an action function. So they go together like that for sort of naturally occurring reasons, I guess. 4 or 8 functions. 8, but they come as pairs. On the next 2 pages, you'll see 3 tables providing information on slot names and numbers for both MBTI and Socionics. The simplest table represents the position of this taxonomy regarding the slots, while the more complicated tables are reference guides to clarify the assorted terms and approaches to cognitive functions that exist in the status quo, including the nicknames and shorthand that people commonly use, as well as MBTI's conscious stack and shadow functions, and Socionics' Model A blocks. The TWFP taxonomy of human attention, which you might call Exciting Tables and Words, rejects entirely the blocks of Model A. I don't like those blocks, ego block. I find it somewhat useful as a shorthand term to refer to the first and second function of an ego block, but I don't agree with the logic of the mechanics behind that. TWFP taxonomy mostly affirms the conscious and shadow stack mechanics as per MBTI, BB, and others. So basically the standard model of there being the Jungian idea of there being a conscious and unconscious stack. Although I think conscious and unconscious are blunt and not very accurate words to use to describe what's going on there. TWFP taxonomy slots. So slot 1, 2, 3, 4, dominant tool, scorecard seeking. Slot name for 5, 6, 7, 8. Ignoring, I call it now counter value to change the name of it. And I call the 8th a number of different things. The 8th is going to be insecure is one thing I still call it, or balanced, or role. I'll use the role name sometimes, Socionics role function. But let's call it balanced here. So, inner system slots A. MBTI, dominant, main, hero. MBTI, second, creative tool, good parent. Ego blocks. This is the ego blocks, Socionics 1 and 2. MBTI, third, tertiary, mobilizing child. MBTI, fourth, auxiliary, vulnerable, DS, animus. Super id block, Socionics 6 and 5. I may have, if I remember correctly, there's a mistake somewhere in one of these things that somebody corrected me on one time, and I may or may not have corrected it, but I don't know. MBTI 5th, suggestive, ignoring, opposing, observing. Id block, Socionics 7th and 8th. MBTI 6, demonstrative, witch, bad parent. This stuff. This is what C.S. Joseph is really into. But he insanely typed, who is an ISTJ? Oh, Ben Shapiro is an ISTJ. That's insane. MBTI 7th, God damn it. MBTI 7th, polar, deceiving, trickster. MBTI 8th, this isn't really MBTI. MBTI doesn't really talk about the backside, but you call this BB, maybe, MBTI 7th is polar, deceiving, trickster. MBTI 8th, role function. That's Socionics name for it. This is actually the role in MBTI, but loose cannon, demon, This is the superego block in Socionics 4 and 3. Okay, so that's just for reference, really, to be able to go between ideas and understand what's going on there. Here's another table for that. Intersystem slots B, TWSP, tax, slot purpose, metaframe, behavior, scorecard seeking, friend, like helper, constraint, ineffable, opposing. TWFP slot expression, open frame, open process, closed frame. This stuff, I don't know if I haven't thought about this in a long time since I wrote this, so I don't even know exactly what I mean here. Open process and closed process, open frame, closed frame. I don't like those words, and you could just, I don't know what you think about it. I've improved my thing since I've made this. I don't like that. Value good, high effort, blind good. So this is still, it's a good value. This is high effort, I agree. This is blind, and this is semi-blind. Semi-blind and good in its impact for you, but this is a shitty table. This is just a shitty table. I don't know what to tell you. So UWFE attack slot name, base, tool, agenda, seeking, ignoring, countervalued, polar, insecure. MBTI name, dominant, creative, tertiary, auxiliary, shadow. They don't really have shit for the back, right? Socionics block, ego, superid, id, superego. I guess this is superid. I don't know why I wrote that. No, super ego. And Socionics name, base, tool, mobilizing, suggestive, ignoring, demonstrative, polar. Demonstrative. Okay. The MBTI status is nature, action, purpose, seeking, unconscious. Socionic status, strong, weak. Socionics. This would be weak. This is a shitty table, huh? I'm sorry, everybody, for my failure here on this one. Movie name, hero, good parent, child, anima, anti-hero, witch, trickster, demon. Terrible table. Extroverted feeling, FE, conscious, FE users. So this is FE Dom, FE creative, FE tertiary, FE auxiliary. And it tells you the name in MBTI and the name in Socionics. So if you don't know the Socionics one, it just goes, first thing is going to be either ethical or logical. The second one's going to be either intuitive or sensing, and the third one's going to be introverted or extroverted. And that tells you your first two functions, basically. So if you're, for example, I'm LII, which means I'm a logical, intuitive, I'm LIE. I'm ILE. I'm an intuitive, logical extrovert. Intuitive first, logical second, and an extrovert tells you which order. So, it tells you what kind it is. If I were an intuitive and logical introvert, I would be an INTJ, because I'd still be intuitive first and logical second, but it would be introverted, ILI. So anyway, that's how Socionics things works. You can see this here yourself. ESFJ equals ESE, ISFJ, SEI. Sensory ethical introvert. Sensory logical extrovert is an ESTP. Logical sensory introvert is an ISTP, and so forth. Unconscious FI users. FE ignoring 5th, INFP, ISFP. FE devalued 6th, ENFP, ESFP. FE polar, INTJ, ISTJ, and FE loose cannon, ENTJ, ESTJ. I don't really call it that anymore. I would call it FE balanced. Or FE Yeah, I call FE balanced. Okay, so front stack FE, descriptions and example sentences. Cares what other thinks. You love me. I hope you didn't think I meant. Concerned with manners, senses dishonesty, knows how to make people happy, wants to be seen as graceful, understands motivation. Is everything okay? You seem quiet tonight. Cares about social hierarchy. Knows he or she is okay because others love him or her. Understands the self and home as open to scrutiny. Can attend to morale and pride in others directly. FE users view FI users as selfish or unfair. So I like this table here. It's a good. It helps to get a sense of what FE is. FE function attributes and interfunction relations. Extroverted judger. Never accompanies front stack TE. Always paired with TI. An objective metric precludes front stack FI. FE-TI axis equals marry according to Socionics. Evaluates other states of being. Manages social perception. Just things to know about mechanics and FE, right? Where's your interface function, FE or TE? If your interface function is dominant, then your dominant, what's in your dominant slot is extroverted metric, or in other words, an interface function. Secondary will be epistemology. If your interface function, FE or TE, is in the second slot, then you will be an epistemologist. If it's in the third slot, you'll be an action type. If it's in the fourth slot, God damn it. If it's in the fourth slot, FE or TE, then you're going to be a TI or an FI user, a judger. If it's in the ignoring slot, you're going to be a judger. If it's in the countervalue slot, you're going to be an actor. If it's in the polar slot, you're going to be a knower. And if it's in the balance slot, you're going to be a interfacer. So that's worth noting, that the way these things work is related like that. There's mechanics to it, right? Conscious FI users. FI dominant in the first slot. You're going to be an ISFP or INFP. FI second, ESFP, ENFP. FI third, ISTJ, INTJ. FI fourth, motherfucker, ESTJ, LSE. That's going to probably cost me monetization. Unconscious FI users. FI ignoring fifth, ESFJ, ENFJ. FI countervalued, ISFJ, INFJ. FI polar, ESTP, ENTP. FI balanced, ISTP, INTP. I should just do a find and replace here, but whatever. Front stack FI descriptions and example sentences. Cares about authenticity. I love you. When I saw it was you, I felt happy. Understands perspective is personal. Senses dishonesty. Judges others by how they make you feel. Wants to be seen as real. Knows what I want and like. Is everything okay? You seem quiet tonight? No. This is not correct. That's what somebody else is going to ask you if you're FI. FI is the quiet one. Gets asked, I guess I should put here. Gets asked. Doesn't care about social hierarchy. Okayness determined by having what one wants. Understands the self as not subject to scrutiny. Attends to another in deliberate acts. An FI user views FE users inauthentic. So it's important to note that the senses dishonesty thing is something both FE and FI does in different ways, but they both do it. Introverted feeling, FI, function, attributes, and interfunction relations. It's an introverted metric. It's a subjective metric, self-warranting. It precludes front stack FE. It precludes front stack TI. Front stack FI-TE permutations are 1, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2. So it's going to be in one of those permutations with TE. Physical legitimacy function renders multi-agent events into personal experience. Necessitates front stack TE. How to use the table below. Column 1 indicates in which slot sits FI, and example row therefore reads, if FI is in the first slot, then the first slot is an introverted metric, the second slot is an action function, the third slot, right? Alright, so if FI is in the first slot, then your first slot's introverted metric, second is action, third is epistemology, fourth is extroverted metric, which is to say interface, and last one is action. So if your FI is in the second slot, then you're an action type. If your FI is in the third slot, you're a knowing type. If your FI is in the fourth slot, you're an interface type. If your FI is in the fifth slot, you're an interface type. If your FI is in the sixth slot, you're a knowing type. If it's seventh slot, you're an action type. Eighth slot, it's a judging type. So this is a way to just sort of, if you wanted to look at this chart, you could tell, like, well, my FI is in the seventh slot, so what type am I? I'm an action type. And my second slot is a judging function, and my third slot is a interface function, and my fourth slot's a knowing function, and my polar is going to be the other judging function. So, like, this will tell you, based on wherever your FI is, it'll tell you all of this shit, right? It won't tell you exactly which type you are, unless you do another step in the logic, which is to say, because my FI is in the second slot, I'm an action type, but I must not be, and, well, I mean, it doesn't tell me if I'm ESTP or ENTP, basically. Okay. This table, I think I'll probably save for the next video. It's kind of complicated, and it's not complicated, really. It explains how to treat the mechanics of functions like a math problem. So you can work with it like that, basically, like, add variables in here and it'll give you the answer, like I showed on this table, basically. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and this was pages, I think, 25 through 31. And I'll see you next time on another exciting episode of Exciting Tables and Words about human personality. One of the greatest pieces of literature ever imagined by anyone ever. This is a quote I put on the background book from my mom. My mom said that. Alright, bye.